but also for boxing. And the two worlds kind of collided on Friday, as I suspect they will continue to collide over the next few months. How did they collide on Friday? Well, Friday, MSG Theater, around 20 minutes from this downtown studio, young man by the name of Mick Conlan, Irish boxer, former Olympian, made his professional boxing debut at the MSG Theater. This was a big deal in Europe, big deal in the boxing world, especially the night before the Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight. It was a big deal for us in the MMA world because Conlan is friends with Conor McGregor. He asked Conor McGregor somewhat on the spot to walk him out to the ring in his debut, and Conor obliged. And this was smart for two reasons, I thought, for Conor. A, supporting one of your own, the next big thing as far as Irish boxing is concerned. That's great. You're very patriotic. Good to support your own. Also good, he's very much a part of the boxing news cycle these days because of the ongoing Floyd Mayweather talk. So it's nice to sort of make an appearance in that world as well. And if you look back over the past few months, if you look at UFC 205 up until now, so when he won the lightweight title up until now, he's essentially only made 3 public appearances, maybe 4 if you want to count when he accepted that award for Sports Person of the Year in Ireland. The other time he did this sort of Q&A, I believe in Northern Ireland. He did that 1-hour interview with me. And then the 4th time was Friday night. And I would argue that what he did on Friday was some of his finest work. And yes, I know it's somewhat hip. It's in vogue to roll your eyes at all of this, to, say, oh, like it's just a very MMA hipster thing to do these days, to put down what he's trying to do, to put down the idea of him fighting Mayweather. I get it. But you can't deny the brilliance of what he did on Friday night. Walks out with Conlan, is essentially cornering him while wearing a mink suit, a purple mink suit, I believe it was, those old man glasses. But then the brilliance came after the win. 3rd round TKO. He walks up to press row, zeroes in on Dan Rafael of ESPN, one of the bigger names in boxing media, and goes on this 45-second rant saying, you're the boxing guy, I'm the boxing guy, I'm going to shock the world, all of you will be laughing, I'm going to kick Floyd's ass, blah, 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 blah. People try to get some answers out of him. He's like, you'll find out soon, I'm out of here. Then my favorite part of the whole clip is the old man boxing guy saying, hey, Conor, you want to do a radio show tomorrow? That just cracked me up. I listened to that 1,000 times. It was so perfect because here you have, the old guard boxing media. And I've said this on the beat before. One of my favorite components to the idea of Floyd fighting Conor is the MMA media and the boxing media, who are very different age brackets, just different mentalities coming together in one press room. Anyhow, he goes up to these guys, and you could tell that they're loving it. They're eating out of the palm of his hand. And in a 45-second rant, he reinserts himself into that conversation. It was perfectly timed. It was perfectly placed. They're all writing about it afterwards. And some people suggested that Conlan would be upset that he stole his thunder. I would argue that this was perfect for Conlan, that people like myself were paying attention to his debut. He got him, Conor got Conlan into the conversation with him, part of a news story. Anyone who wrote about the Conor rant also at least mentioned Conlan in a line. It was just brilliant. It really was. And he said afterwards that, they're getting close, that they're talking about September. And if you go back to a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, I threw out the idea of September 16th, Mexican Independence Day. Floyd typically fights May and September. I didn't throw that out, I didn't pull that one out of my butt. That's the date that I continued to hear being discussed. June was somewhat on the table. I think it was broached, but it doesn't fall in line with Conor's timeline, his personal timeline with his girlfriend giving birth in May. September is the date, the month, the 16th of September to be exact, is the month that I've heard is being discussed. Is it done? No. Conor said it's close. I'm hearing that it's moving along. And of course, we heard Dana White on Conan saying he now all of a sudden can't see it not happening after a month ago saying there's a better chance of him being the backup quarterback for the New England Patriots than this fight happening. Now in a month, he's reversed course. Too much money to be made, and it's too big of an opportunity for not just Floyd and Conor, but for WME as well. And you got to give Conor credit. You really do. A guy with 0 professional boxing fights on his resume, has been able to bait Floyd into taking this fight, has been able to convince the UFC, WME, his new bosses, so to speak, to get on board with this. How could we at this point not believe anything that he says, as outlandish as it may be? Remember, he was on this show, episode 300. Episode 300, he was on the show and said that he would make 9 figures. He can make 9 figures easily in this fight. When he said 9 figures, I was like, wait a second, does this guy not know math? Maybe he means 8 figures, 7 figures. No, 9 figures he was talking about. Go back to episode 300, not that long ago. He said he'd be making 9 figures very soon. Said he'd bring them to Ireland, become a 2-weight world champion, beat Aldo, all this stuff. So who am I to say that he's out of his mind, that, this is crazy as far as happening. This is crazy to believe that he may win. I'm not doubting him anymore. I thought that rant, the timing, the audience, the way he did it, going up to them on press row, it spread like wildfire. And once again, Friday night, here we go, another update on this fight. Every Friday, it seems like something happens as far as this fight is concerned. So we'll continue to monitor it. We could talk about this later on in the program, but I thought that was very notable. And then, of course, on Saturday, the UFC was back in London.